We're on! Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, YouTubes, wherever you are in the world, and how is everybody? First of all, apologies, it's been a little while since I've done a riding video. The weather's been shit, because unfortunately I live in England, and in the winter, it can sometimes be a bit grim. I don't normally mind, and I will get out and ride. But apart from having a shitty cold for about last month, I've been spannering an LC. So if you like LCs, namely an RD350 LC 1980 with a 350 YPBS 31k motor, yawn, for those of you that don't like LCs, for those of you that you do, you know exactly what I just said. There we go. I'm trying to do navigation map. Yeah, so apologies, I've been doing that, and then before that was the GSXR. The LC is pretty much done. I'm waiting for the oil pump to come back, and once the oil pump is back, I can fit it and do some test miles on that. I'm going to ride it with some premix to give it a bit of a shakedown run and see how it goes. But yeah, apologies for not much riding, although some of you might prefer not listening to my dulcet tones waffling away whilst out on the trusty less rusty. And I have to call it the less rusty now because it's getting tidy all the time. I was going to paint or powder coat the frame over the winter, but like other jobs, that never happened. Maybe next year, because this isn't going anywhere. So maybe next year that'll be on the list of things to do, depending on what's going on next year, of course. So, fast down, yeah, it is. So the new navigation app I'm trying is Osmond, OSMD, I don't know what it is, but I saw it online. I know that John from Bennett's has used it, and I tend to give the stuff that he says a bit of interest because he is completely independent, and he isn't paid by anybody apart from Bennett's, so he's got the interest of the consumer at the forefront, I guess. So I thought I'd give it a go. It's a free app, but it has got a motorcycling feature which I've selected, and I put Rye as a route because I know the routes to Rye, I know them very well. So I wanted to see where their motorcycle version took me, because the main route is straight down the main road. So let's see if it does a motorcycle specific route or not. Find out in a minute, won't we? But today, what am I going to waffle about? I normally have an idea of what I'm going to say, because what I do is, I think I'll have a chat about that. So I've got like a notes function on my phone, so I write it in the notes function, but I forgot to have a look at that before I came out. Nothing scripted, I literally just put something like, oh, I know what one was, speeding. Yeah, so I put like one word, speeding, and I'll do that. And this one came about, the speeding idea came about because a mate of mine, John, reminded me of an episode where he was going a little bit too fast somewhere, and a copper pulled up next to him at a junction, who'd obviously been following him for a little while, and looked him up and down, and then when there's a time and a place for that, and off he went. And I had exactly the same thing happen to me. I was on my 250 LC, which might have been a 275 by then, I can't remember, but it was pre 350 and 350 power valve days, so I'd have been 17, maybe 18. Thinking back on it, I mean that's my daughter's age now. Would I like her to be out and about on a 350 power valve? Not in a million years. But anyway, different times, weren't they? But yeah, I was spanking it down these roads, and the next thing I know, I see a police BMW in my mirror, and I'm like, oh no. because when you're a kid, you've had no rider training. We did the old BMF Star Rider scheme. Anyone remember that from the 80s? I did that. Can't remember why I did that, but I mean that was all right. You know, you get to have a bit of experience with people, because we all learn every day is a school day. So I hadn't had any rider training at that point. So checking my mirrors wasn't really a sort of second nature, I guess. Whereas these days, with a bit of rider training, I do tend to be on my mirrors quite often. Sometimes you see the camera move around if I do a real big head check, but I try and, when I'm riding, I try and keep the camera still. So not still, because it does the same thing, but I don't tend to move my head so visibly to do my mirror checks and try and do it with my eyes. But anyway, I'm getting right off the subject as usual. But yeah, I was going a little bit too quick. This BMW appears and I think, oh my life. And he follows me for what felt like an eternity. It was probably a couple of minutes, if that. And right, oh, this is going to take me to the main road. Yeah, okay. I'm not going to go that route. I wonder if there's a twisty routes option. You staying there? Yeah. I wonder if there's a twisty routes option. And how quick does it take to reroute me? Oh, immediately. Bang. That was quick. Yeah, I like that. And yeah, I pulled up at the next junction and he pulled up beside me. So I stopped because I thought I know what's coming now. And a bit like with old John, JC, he looked me up and down. Cheers, mate. And just did the old that and went, there's a time and a place for that, Sonny, and it's not there. And I went, yeah, sorry about that. And he went, right, off you go then. And do you know what, that stuck with me. And that stuck with me for, I say for life, I suppose it did stick with me for life, because I thought, do you know what, yeah, I was riding a bit like a knobber. And at that point, I could have been in a lot of trouble. So those few words of wisdom sunk in, and they stayed with me. So, you know, sort of, I wouldn't say from then I always behaved myself in town, because I was a young idiot, wasn't I? Like we all were. But generally speaking, it did slow me down. Unlike that cab driver who was driving like a complete fucking knobber. There you go. But yeah, it did slow me down, and it did cause me, where are you going? Yeah, it caused me just to ride a little bit more carefully. Obviously I still fell off, because we all did. But yeah, that wasn't my first brush with the law. My first brush with the law was getting 3 points. I was riding down a hill into Canterbury one day by the university, if anyone knows it. And a bike came the other way, and he was doing the old Jim Davidson nick thing above his helmet. And I thought, what's all that about? Well, of course, bloody obvious what it's about. There was a blooming speed camera at the bottom of the hill, which I was on my RD80LC, which I went sailing through at 30 limit. I thought I was doing 40, was it 42, 43? What a knobber. Because there's a junction there, it's a really stupid place to speed. So that's why there's a camera there, I guess. And yeah, straight through the camera. So I got pulled up a little bit down the road by a guy at the side who just waved me over. And I got 3 points. And ridiculously, I was chuffed to get 3 points for speeding, because that was like a badge of honour. Yeah, you know, like the first thing I want to tell you about, yeah, I got done for speeding, yeah, the old bill of the filth and all that sort of stuff. And they would just do their job. There was a shitty junction, loads of crashes there, so they were with the old wires across the road, and I was going too fast. Because looking back on it, you know, if the car come out that junction, I'd have probably T-boned it. So we shouldn't complain. Johnson's Corner. Google Johnson's Corner and it will tell you a big story. I would say a big story. A story about a very brave pilot who steered his plane in the Second World War that was going down. He steered it away from the local village and stayed with it, and unfortunately died. All his crew bailed out and he stayed with it. He was, I won't give his rank, flight lieutenant I think, but I mean no offence if that's wrong, but his name was Johnson, and his plane crashed near that site, and that's why Johnson's Corner is there, where they have the US flag and a little memorial garden. Well worth a visit. because people like that should be remembered. And I think it might be this cottage here has the book of remembrance that people can go and sign. Anyway, I'm right off the subject. So yeah, you know, first thing I'll do is say to your mates, yeah, got done for speeding, you know, which you did. Because at that point, I don't think 3 points made a lot of difference to your licence. It's not like these days where if you get 6 in the first 2 years, you get a ban. Something like that. Right, now I could have cut across over there down some little tiny roads, but this is probably a better biking road if you're on a big bike, so I'll forgive the app for this bit. But yeah, so my second one was probably the old time and a place. I did pick up a fair few points after that, I've got to admit. I was going to the Ducati Owners Club, and I can't remember why my Ducati wasn't on the road. I might have been rebuilding the motor. And I borrowed a Harley Davidson, a Dyna Wide Glide, if anyone knows what those is. Your feet are stretched out, big old bars. And I was with a good mate of mine, Wally, on his Superlight, and we were spanking down Bluebell Hill in towards Maidstone, from Medway to Maidstone basically. And I think I was doing an indicated 110 miles an hour, 60 limits, dual carriageway, but obviously way too fast. And there's a petrol station halfway down. Well, what we now know is there was a police bike in that petrol station. And obviously he came out and nailed it after us. Caught up with us on the motorway. Pulled up next to me. I left him a visor and he said, follow me till I catch a mate. Wally had already buggered off. So off we went after Wally, and I was like, pulled both of us over. How fast were you going? 70? No, you weren't. Oh, bugger. And then he said, I can give you 3 points, or you can have a day in court, which would you prefer? So obviously I went 3 points please, because I thought that's an instant ban. So yeah, took the 3 points. But Wally already had 6 points, so he had a right old moan, and the copper was a bit like, are you for real, mate? Are you for real? You know, do you realise if this goes to court you're going to get banned? But anyway, I'm going like, whoa, just, you know, take it as it is. So he did. But unfortunately that was a Sunday. The following Sunday I was racing at Knockhill in Scotland, and we're coming back on the Sunday night, and we're driving down the M11. There was some roadworks, and obviously Knockhill to Kent is a long way. And anyway, we're in the roadworks. There's a 50 limit, and it was what must have been about 3-4 o'clock in the morning. Not a single car in sight. Next thing you know, the old flash of a camera, and I got done for doing, I think it's 72 and a 50. Again, totally my fault. But the problem then was I had to then explain to the court why I couldn't provide my licence, because in the UK, if you get done for speeding and it goes to court, you have to send your licence off to the court. Well, I couldn't send mine off because the copper from the week before had already taken it to go and put points on. So I had to explain to the court. You can imagine how that looked, didn't it? Okay, that didn't look very good, did it? But yeah, you had to explain to the court that I couldn't provide my licence because it was already off getting points put on it. Now, where are you going? Are you going this way? You are, so give me a bit of space. And now you're going to the petrol station. Yeah, I thought it might be. So yeah, you can imagine the magistrates took a dim view of that, and they gave me 6 points. So I did have a clean licence, then I got 3 points on the Harley, and 6 points in the van. Funny enough, with a Harley on the back of it, because I was racing in the 883 series at the time. So yeah, that wasn't a good weekend. What else UK wise? Well, I don't know, I've been waffling for now. UK wise, my potentially worst one was I was on my 748. It was a 748 SP with an SPS motor, and I was wanging it down top of Bluebell Hill, down the M2 towards the Medway Bridge. Everyone knows it. You come off the slip road there, and it's long. It goes into like fucking 5 lanes of motorway, at least 4 lanes, I can't remember. And I pinned it, with the old term is howling, down the slip road to join the motorway, and it had little tiny carbon fibre mirrors. And I looked in the mirror and there was nothing there. You could see 2 lorries. I even, you know, you could stand up and look under your armpit. If you're in the sports bike, you all know that. 2 lorries, nothing there. So I pinned it, I'm tucked down, give it the beans. I don't know how long late, but you know, I don't know, 10 seconds later, 15 seconds later, I sit up, I glance in the mirror, and there's this little grey dot. I'm like, ooh, what the fuck's that? Because it certainly wasn't there before. And the grey dot closes on me very fast, and it's not grey, but it is grey, but it's grey with jam sandwich, the old Battenberg markers on it. It's a marked police Volvo. So I roll off the throttle and I sit at 70 miles an hour with this police Volvo on my arse for I don't know, half a mile, 3/4 of a mile, maybe not that long. It felt like forever though, as you can imagine. And then lo and behold, lights come on, pulls me over onto the hard shoulder. So I get off the bike, I step over the barrier, I take my helmet off and I stare at my feet, giving the old, oh, sorry, you know, all that sort of stuff. And the copper says, you right there? So I says, yeah. How fast are you going? So I says, I think about 70. And he went, do you really? I went, yeah, about that. Because top tip, never ever cop the speeding. Leave it up to them to prove. Yeah. So anyway, he then says, would you like to come back to my police car and I'll show you a little video. And anyway, long and short of the story is he had timed me at 2 fixed points. It was 1.1 miles, and he said for 2/3 of that you were doing 70 because you knew I was behind you. He said, what would you think if I told you that despite 2/3 of that you're doing 70, your average speed was still 94 miles an hour? And I was like, oh, fuck it. Obviously he hit the button when I'd had it absolutely pinned for a bit of a distance, and my average was still 94. So I said, oh really? He said, yeah, really. And he said, have you got any points on your licence? I said, no. And he said, right, well you have now. And he only gave me 3 points. So again, I was wearing full kit, the bike was in tip-top condition. You know, he saw I wasn't a young tearaway, if you like. So yeah, 3 points, and I think it was £100, something like that. It was at 60 quid back in those days. But anyway, could have been an awful lot worse. Which brings us to my worst ever speeding offence. I'm in France on a CBR 1000. It's a beautiful sunny morning, and it's a Sunday, and I've just been to the Boldor at Magny-Cours, and the Channel Tunnel has had a fire, or a big problem, so everyone was being transferred to the ferries, and I've got to be at work at Monday. So I've left Magny-Cours early on Sunday morning to get back because I'm thinking there's going to be delays. Now imagine your favourite deserted motorway in the early hours of the morning when there's bugger all on it, except this was, I don't know, 9 o'clock in the morning, and it was a glorious summer's day, clear blue skies, beautiful riding weather, and I'm just cruising, and I am cruising. I'm cruising at 3 figures, admittedly, but I'm cruising. I then go past a little service road to the side, and I see a police motorcycle, French police motorcycle. I think it was FJR 1300. I see him there, go, that's a bit odd, but I roll off the throttle because I'm going a bit quick. He comes out behind me, and I'm like, oh no. A little bit further on, I see another one who's pulled out in front of me, and they then proceed to escort me off the motorway at the next exit. I'd gone into a 110km/h limit, which is just over 70 miles an hour, I think, and I was doing 184 kilometers an hour, something like that. I think it was 111, 112 miles an hour it worked out at. It was well over the limit, but you know, I'm on a bike more than capable of it. I'm cruising, as we all know that is a cruising speed. that resulted in a €750 on the spot fine, where they escorted me to a cash point. I had to phone my bank on a Sunday morning and ask them to raise my withdrawal limit so I could pay this Frenchman some money, and then had an argument with the lady on the phone because she's going, oh, I'm sure they can't do that, and I'm going, look, pretty sure they can, and they have. So anyway, I give them the €750 back at the little van. It was a Volkswagen camper van, all kitted out with a desk with paperwork in trays, everything, and there was a whole queue of cars and bikes all getting done. They must have known that, you know, it was the route to the ferry, and ka-ching, off you go. So yeah, €750. Anyway, I pay the money, and I'm walking back to the bike, and this couple goes, oh, monsieur. Oh, by the way, I also had a court date back in France a few months later, which I didn't go to. We'll come to that. That's interesting. How's it got in there? The other side of the fence. And there's a bit of that, bit of a bumper there. Anyway, yeah. Court day back in France, which I didn't go to. You can plead guilty in your absence, and there's not a lot of point in pleading innocent, is there? You know, I was guilty. He goes, oh, monsieur, how are you getting back to England? Hee-haw, hee-haw. And I go, well, I'm going to ride my bike. He goes, no, 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 monsieur. You are banned. He said, you have a 6-month ban now in France. And I'm like, what? He said, yes, we must now seize your motorcycle. You have to come back for it later. So I thought, for fuck's sake, you've got to be kidding me. So, anyway, I'm there in mid-leathers with luggage all strapped on the bike and that sort of stuff. So it's a bit like, you know, what am I going to do? So I said, look, if I phone a mate of mine up who came down on a pillion, my nose was growing an inch at a time, you know what I'm talking about. If I phone my mate and he comes and rides my bike with me on the pillion, would that be okay? Anyway, I had a chat with his boss, and they went, yeah, look, if you can do that, that's fine. So I then phoned back to the campsite, trying to explain where I am, and a couple of good mates, Neil and Tony, come out, and Neil was going to ride me back to the campsite at Magney Cook. It's only about 30 miles from it. And anyway, Neil gets there, and they go, where's your license? You have a license for the Minky? You know what I mean? Where's your license? And he goes, oh, it's back in my tent. And he just saw, I think, a couple saw the looks on our face, and he just went, oh, that's okay. And off we went. So anyway, we went back to the campsite, and I'm trying to think of all these ideas to get back in, and I thought, oh, fuck it, I'm just going to ride the bike back. So I did, very carefully, within the speed limit, so I didn't get pulled over, because obviously at this point I did not have a license, because I was banned in France. And anyway, I get lost in Paris. I'm facing the Palace of Versailles. I haven't got a fucking clue where I'm going. It's pre-sat-nav days. I'm just looking at road signs. And these two bikes pull up next to me, a Hayabusa and a GSX 1000. And I say in my best pidgin French, which way's the motorway, mate? You go, ha-ha, follow me. What then happens is the most manic ride I have ever done. The lights change. We filter to the front, the lights change, both bikes treat it like we are at Santa Pod. They literally drag off the line. The guy on the Hayabusa, this is no word of a lie, then stands up on the foot pegs, hoists it on the back wheel, and pulls a standing up wheelie through the traffic down towards the Palace of Versailles. Closely followed by the GSX 1000 and me on the CBR, thinking, what the fuck? We then ride like we stole it all the way to the slip road where I could join the motorway towards, I think it was Rouen and then Calais. And we pull over, we get off, and we're doing the old having a good old laugh about it. And I'm thinking, fuck, you know, we're up pavements, you name it. It was manic. So we're having a chat, and I'm trying to give these guys a drink to thank them, and they wouldn't take anything. So anyway, when I got my wallet open, I then pull out the yellow slip they give me, and I hand it to this guy. This is the guy who 10 minutes previously was doing stand-up wheelies. I hand it to the guy, and his face drops with a look of horror, and he goes, oh monsieur. And I've gone, yeah. And he goes, oh, this is very bad. And I said, yeah, okay. He goes, oh monsieur, if you're caught in France without a licence. Basically it was a mandatory 2-year jail sentence. I'm like, you gotta be fucking joking. He said, no monsieur, this is very bad, you drive really, really careful. So yeah, I rode like an absolute saint to the ferry terminal. Well, I then found out that I had to go to the tunnel first to get a voucher to be transferred to the ferry. So yeah, you can imagine. But that was not a good day out. I do not condone that in any way, shape or form. It was a very stupid thing to do. It was a stupid roast beef. I could have spent 2 years making best friends with Big Pascal, which wouldn't have been good. So anyway, that's enough waffle. I'm in Rye now. And the map's worked. It's going to take me to my pinpoint, I think. It says I'm half a mile away. But yeah, I haven't really done a review about that. I've been too busy talking shit. So, yes, speeding. If you've got any speeding stories, chuck them down below. Let's see who's got the best one. Let's see if you can beat 750 euros, which at the time was 620 quid and a 6-month ban. Oh, I will add, after the court date, a couple of weeks after or so, I got the paperwork through saying my case had gone to court, and guess how much my fine was? It doesn't take long to guess, does it? It was 750 euros. Exactly, including costs. So it seems like what they take off you at the side of the road is actually a deposit, because they know you're not going to come back. So they take the deposit for the fine. And guess what? That was what the fine was. So you can guarantee if you've ever been stopped speeding and you've given them some money, you're not going to see a penny of it back. In actual fact, there's potential that they might try and charge you some more. But yeah, right, happy days all. If you're riding, stay safe. If you're not riding, watch shit videos and reminisce about old times where you did or didn't get into trouble. And I'll see you on the next episode of RSing About. Take care all.